Hello guys, welcome back to the next one. In this one, I'm gonna show you how do we create a base test class kind of concept using the conftest.py of PyTest. And let's just get started without wasting too much time. So if you guys remember from our PyTest section, we created one conf test. And in this one, we created one-time setup. We created method level setup. We actually took arguments from the command line using the PyTest fixtures and add option. We did that, and using those command line options, we actually executed our test as well. And pretty much everything is there. Now, what I want to do here is I want to utilize it in our current framework that we are building. Similarly, what we did was we created one class level setup. If you guys remember this one, this is only going to be specific to the class where I'm going to write it. So I'm going to utilize this as well in our current framework. So let's get started. I'm just going to bring up our current framework, and we have our login test, we have our login page, we have our Selenium driver. So the most important one for this lecture is this login test. What do we have common stuff right now? If we carefully take a look, this thing, right? We wanna every time open the base URL, maximize the window, put the implicit wait time. Can this thing be transferred to a common location? The answer is yes. And why I'm asking for this? Because even if I have, let's assume, going further in the project making and in our automation framework, we add more test classes like login test, we add course test, then we will have to still do the same thing. We will still have to add these things. We will still have to open the browser and maximize the window and get the application URL. So do we want to again write all these things there? Do we want to again repeat these things every time and make it look ugly? It's not just about ugly. Think about maintenance. When it comes to some changes, do we want to make changes in every class? No, right? It's always good to have these common things put in one separate place where if some change you want to make, you just make it one location. So this is the whole logic. So what I want to do here is I want to first copy the conf test from the PyTest package. And if you guys need to brush up again, please look at the PyTest section for the conf testing and kind of brush up your skills on that. I'm just gonna copy it in our test folder. So this contrast should always be in the location where your tests are. So my tests are gonna be in different locations. Under test also there's a home folder, then there might be some other courses folder. So that's why I'm gonna put it on the top. So it should be under test, not under home. It's not under home if you see. It's on the same level of home. So right there I have the contrast. Now let's open this up and let's see what we want to do. So the first thing we want to do here is we want to copy these statements, and I'm just copying these things. I'm not copying the login page, and I will explain you why. So let's put it here. Let's put this guy here. So we have the base URL. We need the WebDriver because we need to import it now. So from Selenium import WebDriver. Now this is happy. And for the base URL, we need to get the base URL. We need to open the website here itself. We don't want to wait, right? But let's do the first few things. I want to return, instead of value, I want to return driver. So when I return the driver, I can use the same driver instance in my test classes and in my page classes as well, right? That's what I want to do. So let's just get rid of this guy. And here, let's replace this thing with driver everywhere. Let's replace this with driver. Now what else I want to do? I want to replace this also to driver. So I'm going to say driver equals to Chrome. Sorry, WebDriver dot Chrome. And I think we have changed the driver to all the locations. The next thing we want to do here is we want to copy this self.get driver.get the base URL thing, because we want to put it in the conf test. This is also common. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna put it here. So this is gonna be here. I want to remove the self part from here because it's in the same location, and I can put it here as well in the Chrome portion. So we can just put it in both the locations, and I think I need to define it. Maybe let's define it here also. So we will have the base URL. What we do is we are doing that common setup in this location, and then we return the driver. And in the after the yield portion, what we can do is we can do driver.quit. So this is kind of a tear down, right? So in this guy we can just do driver.quit. Once we do this, let's see what we need to do. We can just remove the driver.quit from here, because we don't need to now depend on the second method to quit the driver, and on the first method we don't need to depend to open the web application, right? Now the only thing left is we want to do some class level setup. And what is that class level setup? The class level setup is this login page object. I want this only in my login test classes for most of the scenarios, and I don't want to just initialize it and put it in the common place where I want to use it in other classes also, other test classes. So let's make sure that this is only used in login test class. So we can do a class level setup. How do we do that? We just copy the same code from here. This is test class demo 2, and in this one we created a class level setup using PyTest fixture. So let's copy this, put it here, and let's copy this guy, put it inside this class, and let's remove the some class to test, and here we need to say self dot driver. This is amazing. Now one more thing is remaining. We need to say here add pytest dot mark dot use fixtures, and inside it we need to give both the names of the classes. So we can just say something like this. We can just copy from here, and these are the fixtures we want to use, right? Let's verify in Conftest. We want to use one time setup and we want to use setup, right? So looks like our class is all set up, everything is done, and it's just almost ready to use, ready to roll. And I think the only thing I need to do here is just make it self.lb. So that's what I want to do, and it's all ready. Now let's first take a look at this guy. So we have our class level setup where we are defining the object for the login page. This is the page object for our test class, and then we have two test methods here. And now if you take a look, we started from about a 15-20 line one test method, if you remember, and we limited it to 3-line test. It shows lp.login, provide the credentials, then get the result, lp.verify login successful, then assert the result. Same thing for the negative one, lp.login, get the result from verify login failed, and then assert the result. So this is the beauty of creating a framework. Once you have created the framework, your test cases become so simple to write that even your manual QA team also can help you. So you can distribute the workload also. And it's amazing. So let me just quickly try and run this code. And I have already, I think, exported the Python path. So if not, please do that. And then what we want to do here is py.test -s-v test home login test.py, and then -- browser equals to Firefox. So let me just hit it. It should bring up the browser and it should execute our test without any issues, the normal test that we were executing. So it's opening the URL, going to the login page. First time it should just fail, and the second time it should successfully log in. And it logged in, it should quit the browser, and it did everything. So we saw that everything happened pretty nicely. It first ran the invalid test because the order is 1 here, and then it ran the valid test because the order is 2 here. So that's about it, guys. That's pretty much I wanted to show in this lecture. I wanted to show you how a framework works, how we can reduce the length of code in our test case, and how we can put the common stuff in a particular location from where we can use in all the places, so we don't do the coding again and again. We don't want to duplicate the code, the same code everywhere. I didn't want to write the driver.get thing and this thing, right? I didn't want to write all this code in every class that I'm writing. So that's why I wanted to put it in a common location. I don't want to do setup in every class. I don't want to do one time setup in every class. Only thing I want to do here is what is specific to that class, and that's what I'm doing. So this makes our code looks neat, clean, manageable, maintainable, and effective. So that's about it, guys. Please practice it, download the files. As always, they're gonna be for you, and let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you in the next lectures. Thanks for learning this one.